Imagine someone sliding $30,000 across the table to you every single month. The only condition? You have to slaughter your own conscience and become the most toxic, despicable version of yourself on the internet. Would you take the deal? Caleb did. From a quiet nobody with a camera, he suffocated his genuine passion, strapped on a mask of pure arrogance, and clawed his way to a digital throne of 1 million followers by trampling on the dignity of others. He thought he had mastered the algorithm, entirely blind to the fact that the algorithm was slowly devouring his soul. But there is a terrifying truth about wearing a mask for too long. Eventually, it eats your real face. And by the time Caleb realized that, the illusion had already begun to crack. He plummeted from the absolute peak straight to the darkest rock bottom. Yet, the greatest irony of all, that complete and devastating ruin was the exact miracle he needed to save his life. Before any of it, Caleb loved his camera. It was an old film camera, a Canon, the kind your uncle might have stored in a closet somewhere and forgotten about. He'd bought it at a flea market in Brooklyn for $40. He saved up for a year to afford decent lenses. On weekends, he'd take the train out to coastal towns, walk for miles, waiting for the light to fall a certain way against an empty diner window or a rusted gas pump. He'd post the photos on Instagram. He'd write little captions, sometimes a line from a poem he liked. He had 312 followers. After a really good shot, maybe 40 hearts. Once in a while, a comment from another guy in Oregon who shot the same kind of work. He didn't mind. He used to say something to his roommate, half joking. If one person sees it and feels something, that's a good day. He worked retail. He drank cheap coffee. He had 2 close friends who'd known him since college, a guy named Cedric and a woman named Hannah. They'd come over and play cards on Friday nights, and Caleb would show them whatever new shot he'd taken, and they'd nod and pretend to know what they were looking at. He was broke, mostly. He laughed a lot back then. He didn't know any of it was the good part. It happened by accident, the way these things usually do. A delivery driver left a package on Caleb's stoop one rainy Tuesday. Caleb had ordered a new roll of film, an expensive one, and the box was soaking wet by the time he got home. The film inside was ruined. He'd had a long shift at the store, and his shoulders ached. He turned on his phone and started recording, just a quick rant, the way people do when they want to vent and don't know where else to put it. But Caleb didn't vent quietly. He went after the delivery driver by name. He pulled up the guy's photo on the company app and held it to the camera. He laughed at the way the man stood in the doorway in the doorbell footage. He called him stupid, lazy, a waste of skin. The whole thing lasted 4 minutes. He posted it before he calmed down. He woke up the next morning to 200,000 views. By that evening, it was 1 million. A storm of comments and shares exploded, on with people splitting into 2 factions attacking each other and pushing the video to become even more viral. For a day and a half, Caleb felt incredibly surprised, and the virality showed no signs of stopping. He felt half excited, half guilty about what he had done. He thought about the delivery man, whose name he didn't even know how to spell. Then, like a flash of lightning, he thought to himself, could this be the life-changing opportunity meant for me? And then, like a signal from the universe, his phone buzzed. His account had enough views and followers to enable monetization from the platform. He sat down at the kitchen table and stared at the screen for a long time. He didn't tell himself it was a one-time thing. He didn't tell himself anything at all. He just stopped thinking on the way a man does when he doesn't want to know what he's about to choose. By Friday night, he had posted another one. Caleb had a talent he hadn't known about. He could find the weakest spot in a person and pick at it until it bled. He started a real channel. He gave himself a stage name, a fake last name, a fake backstory about growing up in a tough neighborhood. He bought a leather jacket. He learned how to smirk just right. He invented a character, and the character was magnetic in the way that bad things often are. You couldn't look away. He'd film himself in coffee shops, picking apart strangers under his breath. He'd film himself at the gym, mocking other people's form. He'd film himself in his car, ranting about a woman who'd cut him off in traffic, and then show her license plate so the comments could go after her. The follower count climbed like a fever. 10,000 by spring, 6 figures by summer, 500,000 by the time the leaves turned. Every month, his revenue increased. $10,000, $20,000, then $50,000. He had never imagined he could earn that much money just by humiliating others. The Canon sat on a shelf gathering dust. He hadn't taken a real photograph in 8 months. He told himself he didn't have time. Cedric called him one evening. Hannah was on the line too. They wanted to grab a drink. They said they missed him. "You guys saw the new video?" Caleb asked. Cedric took a long breath. "Yeah, we did. That's actually why we're calling." Hannah's voice was soft. "Caleb, and that thing you did to that woman, posting where she works, that's not you, man." Caleb laughed. He laughed in a way that surprised even himself. "You guys don't get it. You don't understand how this stuff works. I'm just pretending. People like it." "We understand fine," Cedric said. "We're just worried about you." A surge of anger welled up in his chest. He spoke in one long breath without stopping. "You're broke," Caleb said. "Both of you. You're broke, and I'm not. Forgive me if I don't take career advice from people whose lives are going nowhere." Hannah hung up. Cedric tried for another second. Caleb hung up too. As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately felt regret. "Oh my God, what did I just say? Have I become the person I've been pretending to be all this time?" He was too proud to put aside his new status and call back to apologize to them. A week later, Cedric sent a text. "Hey man, just checking in. Call me when you can." Caleb read it on the way to a club. He didn't reply. He told himself he'd answer tomorrow. Tomorrow turned into the weekend, and the weekend turned into a month. A few weeks after that, Hannah sent a photograph. The 3 of them at Coney Island, the summer after college. Caleb holding a hot dog and squinting into the sun, like he just heard a joke. He stared at it for a second, then closed the message before the feelings could catch up to him. By the end of that year, they'd stopped sending things. It wasn't a single cut. It was a slow distance. And that, Caleb would think later, is how you really lose people. The money was real, but the money was also strange. And then, Caleb drifted along the current of degradation. The big brands stayed away. Nobody wants their cereal advertised next to a video of a grown man calling a teenager ugly. So Caleb's income came from a few odd places. The platform paid him directly for views. He sold cheap gadgets through affiliate links to his audience, junk from overseas warehouses, stuff that broke within a month. He pushed supplements that didn't do anything. He told himself this was the business. He told himself everyone did it. He signed a lease on a penthouse. He filled it with furniture from a magazine. He bought a watch that cost more than his car had cost 2 years earlier. He bought sunglasses big enough to hide half his face. He bought a pair of limited edition sneakers, neon green and white, the kind that resold for thousands and that he insisted on wearing in nearly every video. He started ordering bottle service at clubs where nobody knew his real name. His mother called every week. He let it go to voicemail most times. When he did pick up, he kept the conversation short. He told her he was busy. He told her things were great. One Sunday, she asked him directly, "Sweetheart, what is it exactly you do for work these days?" Aunt Linda was asking. He paused for half a second. "Marketing," he said. "Just digital marketing. It's boring, Mom." "Oh," she said. He could hear the relief in her voice, and he hated himself just a little for putting it there. He never invited her to visit. He was 29. He'd lost weight he didn't have to lose. His hands shook in the mornings until the second coffee. He couldn't fall asleep without something to take the edge off. From the outside, he looked like a man who'd made it. He hadn't taken a real photograph in over a year. It was around 2 a.m. when his mother called. Caleb wasn't asleep yet. He was still engrossed in counting views and optimizing his video. He looked at his phone, his chest tightening. There must be something very serious for his mother to call at this hour. He picked up, "Mom." He heard her breathing first, then the crying. It was a quiet crying, the kind women of her generation try to hide. "Mom, what happened? Are you hurt? Is Dad okay?" "Your father is fine, sweetheart." "Then what?" "I tried not to call," she said. "I really did. I sat with it for hours, Caleb, but I couldn't carry it into morning." She didn't answer right away. He heard her swallow. He heard her find her voice the way you find a flashlight in a power outage. "You remember last month when I asked you about your job? You told me it was marketing. Mom, Mrs. Patterson called me tonight. From church, her granddaughter showed her 3 of your videos. She recognized you straight away, Caleb. She said she'd been seeing them for months. She didn't know how to tell me." Caleb closed his eyes. "It's not just her," his mother said. "It's the Hendersons. It's Janet. It's the whole choir. They all watched you. They all heard the things you said about that poor woman at the supermarket. Mom, I didn't go this Sunday. I told your father I had a headache. I sat in the kitchen and stared at the wall, sweetheart, because I couldn't think of what I would say to anyone." Caleb couldn't speak. "I don't know who that boy is," she said. "On those videos, I don't know him. I keep waiting for the one where you come back, where you talk about photography again, or the trip you took to Maine that summer. I keep waiting for my son." He tried to say something. He really tried. She wasn't finished. "I'm not angry, Caleb. I want you to know I'm not angry. I'm tired. I am so tired of being scared of what you'll do next." She hung up. He sat on the couch in his penthouse in the dark, holding a phone that had gone quiet. He didn't cry. He sat there with the phone in his hand for a while. He noticed, very distantly, that he was thirsty, and he didn't get up to get water. He told himself that in the morning he'd fix it, and he told himself he just had to ride this wave a little longer. And then somehow, he would become his mother's son again. In the morning, he posted another video. Eating the same dish over and over again gets boring. The audience got bored. He didn't see it coming. Nobody had warned him that anger has a shelf life like milk. You can be the cruelest, loudest, most magnetic person on the internet, and one day, the algorithm just shrugs. People click somewhere else. Your views drop. The affiliate checks shrink. Caleb panicked. The penthouse rent was due. The watch wasn't going to pay for itself. He decided to go bigger. He set up a video. He paid an actor, badly to play a role. He staged a confrontation in a public place with a stranger he labeled trashy and lazy and worse. He made it nasty enough that people would have to comment. The video went up on a Friday night. By Sunday, someone had figured out it was staged. By Monday, the actor had come forward with screenshots of the texts. The backlash was massive, a furious avalanche of reports and strikes against his account. The number of followers decreased rapidly like a countdown clock. And then, by Wednesday morning, the dashboard itself went to a screen that said his account had been permanently removed for severe violations of community standards. The mask he had built for 2 years shattered in an instant. He frantically tried to save his account, but only received automated emails stating that his bans were final. He thought losing his channel was the worst thing that could happen. He was wrong. Emboldened by his public downfall, the past caught up with him. The woman from the traffic incident, the local teacher who had faced months of real-world harassment and threats because Caleb had doxed her license plate, saw that he was finally vulnerable. A week after his channel vanished, she filed a massive civil lawsuit for invasion of privacy and severe emotional distress. The fallout was no longer just a digital ghosting. It was a slow-motion car crash of legal and financial ruin. Caleb sat in a sterile law office in Midtown, watching a lawyer slide a settlement agreement across the mahogany table. To avoid a public trial that could lead to criminal charges, there was a price. It was a staggering number, one that swallowed his entire savings, the equity in his car, and the resale value of every luxury item he owned. To clear the debt and the lawsuit, he had to liquidate his life. The German sports car was sold to a wholesaler at a loss. The designer furniture was hauled away by liquidators. After the lawyers took their cut and the victim was compensated, the fortune that Caleb thought would last a lifetime had evaporated. He wasn't just canceled. He was bankrupt. He walked out of that office with nothing but the clothes on his back and enough cash to cover a security deposit on a one-room apartment above a laundromat. The walls smelled like dryer sheets and old grease. The window faced a brick wall. The radiator made a noise like an old man clearing his throat. He stopped going outside during the day. He started wearing a hood when he walked to the bodega for milk. He kept his head down. It didn't help. The sneakers gave him away. Those neon green and white things, the limited edition pair he'd worn in nearly every video, that was the last thing he hadn't thrown away. He didn't foresee that someone would still recognize it. He told himself nobody looked at people's feet. One afternoon, a kid on a skateboard came down the block, slowed, stared at his feet, then looked up at his face and grinned. "Yo," the kid said. He shouted Caleb's fake last name across the street, half in disbelief, half in joy at the catch. Caleb ducked into an alley and threw up against the wall. The sneakers went into a dumpster behind the laundromat that night. He bought a pair of plain black shoes at a discount store the next morning for $19. He tried to get a job. He had a resume full of nothing. 2 years of content creation, no references he could call, and he sent out 100 applications. He got one interview at a small marketing firm in Midtown. The hiring manager was a woman in her 40s, smart-eyed, polite. They shook hands. They sat down. She looked at his resume. Then she looked at his face. He watched her recognize him. He watched her file the recognition somewhere quiet and try to keep her expression neutral. He watched her, very gently, very professionally, become a person who was going to find a reason not to hire him. The interview lasted 11 minutes. She said they'd be in touch. He knew, walking out into the elevator, that they would not. He came home that night and stood in front of the bathroom mirror. He looked at himself for a long time. He stared in the bathroom mirror at the designer shirt, the dumb, oversized sunglasses, the flashy rings, and he looked like a clown standing in a rundown bathroom. He took them off, slowly, one thing at a time. The shirt, which he peeled off and dropped in a heap on the tile. Underneath all of it was a man he barely recognized, thinner than he used to be, sharper around the eyes, quieter. He thought strangely about Cedric and Hannah. He thought about his mother sitting in her kitchen. He didn't have it in him to call any of them yet. The shame was too thick. But for the first time in 2 years, he could see their faces again. He could remember them. He found the Canon in a cardboard box in the back of his closet. The leather strap was cracked. The lens cap was missing. There was a roll of film still inside, halfway shot, from the summer before everything went sideways. He didn't dare develop it. He wasn't ready to see who he'd been. He cleaned the camera with an old t-shirt. He walked down to the drugstore on the corner and bought a single roll of Kodak Gold for $14 and change, most of what he had left in his wallet. He walked out into the city on a Saturday morning, with a hood up and the camera under his arm. He didn't go anywhere famous. He went to a laundromat 3 blocks from his apartment. He sat on a plastic chair and watched the light come through the front window. He photographed an old woman folding towels. He photographed a small child sleeping against his father's shoulder. He photographed a pigeon walking sideways across a tile floor, like it owned the place. He didn't post any of them. He took maybe 12 frames that morning. Walking back to the apartment, he realized he hadn't checked his phone the entire time he was out. A photographer named Owen took a chance on him. Owen ran a small studio that did wedding photos and corporate headshots. He hired Caleb as an assistant retoucher for minimum wage. Caleb didn't argue. He went to work. He cleaned up other photographers' images. He learned the back end of the business. He kept his head down. On weekends, he took his camera out to corners of the city he'd never noticed before. He shot rain on a fire escape. He shot the steam coming off a manhole at 6 a.m. He shot a woman buying flowers at a deli. He started, slowly, calling his mother again. Short calls at first. Just hi, just I'm alive, just him working. The first time, she cried, and then she made him promise to come home for a weekend. He did. He sat at the kitchen table and let her ask him every question she'd been holding back for 2 years. He never tried to reach Cedric or Hannah. He felt he didn't have the right. Then one day, Cedric reached him. A short message. Heard you're back to taking photos. Hope you're well. Caleb read it 3 times. He wrote back, thank you. I'm sorry. That was where it started. Very small, very careful. 2 old friends learning how to talk again. People ask Caleb now, the few who know the whole story, if he misses the money. He thinks about it honestly. He doesn't lie about it. He says sometimes, on a cold afternoon when he's tired and the heat in the apartment is fussy, yes, he misses the money. But then they ask about the rest. The penthouse, the recognition on the street. He laughs quietly. He says he doesn't miss any of that at all. He sleeps through the night now, which sounds small until you've lost it for 2 years. When he walks down the block to buy coffee, he looks up instead of at his shoes. Sometimes a stranger smiles at him, and the smile is for him, not for whoever he used to pretend to be. Looking back, losing the channel was the one thing that finally made him stop. He didn't choose it. He didn't see it as a gift. He just sat in that small apartment for a long time, and slowly, mostly without noticing, he stopped digging the hole he'd been digging for 2 years. He doesn't talk about it in clean lines, by the way. He doesn't have a tidy phrase for what happened to him. If you push him, he'll shrug and say something like, "I don't know, man. I think I had to lose all of it before I'd shut up and listen." That is Caleb's story. Now I will share a little bit about my journey doing YouTube. The reason I picked this lane, out of all the things a person can make on the internet, I could have gone for the easy stuff. The drama, the rage bait, the numbers that come fast. I've seen what that road looks like. I've seen what it does to the people who walk it. I just figure if you make something good, life tends to be good back to you. Maybe that's naive. I'm 31. I started this channel at 0. No plan beyond telling stories that mattered to me. It's slow work. It doesn't pay well, at least not yet. Right now, just the belief that there are people out there who want stories that mean something at the end of the day. If you've watched this far, thank you. Genuinely, Mom, the kind words you've left under these videos are the closest thing I've got to a paycheck I'm actually proud of. I hope whatever you're going through, you find a thread to pull. A small one, a vine in the sidewalk, a camera in a box, something honest you can hold in your hand. The world won't always pay you for it, but you'll know who you are. And some days, that's the only currency that buys anything worth having. Take care of yourself.